Welcome to War of the Weirds, where the stranger the discovery, the greater chance of victory. Last time, Mystic brought forth their methamphetamine-fueled tale of IMO Coivenant to strike Broomy down. But Broomy would not take such tomfoolery without a fight, so he unveiled the story of Lal Bahari, a dead man on the quest of a lifetime. The public cast their vote on who was the victor, the votes were tallied, and they were split squarely down the middle. On this day, we break that tie as I present to you the fifth battle on record. Robert Ledru versus the 1904 Olympic Marathon.
Hello and welcome to War of the Weirds. I'm Broomy.
And I'm Mystic.
And we're basically people who enjoy how strange reality can get.
Oh, yeah.
And we each bring in a weird story, present it to one another, and have people vote on which one was the weirder one. And eventually, whoever has the weirder stories will decide the worst piece of media for the other to ingest and come back and tell us about.
Yeah,
that's the whole premise of the podcast.
That's it.
So right in there. But I have the story to start.
All right.
And Robert Ledru.
What? Ledru?
Robert Ledru is a French detective.
Oh.
All right. Ho ho ho. And he was renowned. He was like,
I think it's pronounced Renault.
Like
the painter.
Yeah,
Renault.
He drank a lot of wine that had the label renowned. I don't know. French listeners, goodbye, because you're offended and the jokes are lame. But
they're like, it should have been Robert. No.
If not Merlot, then what?
We're just trying to really exclude the French audience. We just kind of really didn't want them, so this is our plan, to just really ostracize them.
Yeah,
Anyways.
Fuck off.
Yeah.
Fuck off,
Loud
frogs. I just find it funny that people call French people frogs.
Yeah.
Anyway.
What an insult.
So, Robert Ledru, French detective, he was renowned.
Okay.
And he was like a well-known, well-respected detective.
Mm-hmm.
In Paris, he had broken up black magic cults.
Ooh.
He arrested a shit ton of anarchists.
Okay.
And imprisoned a group of political rebels who planned to overthrow the government.
This sounds like TNT's new series.
What is that?
Like, there isn't, but I mean, it sounds like this is what you're like pitching this, and they're like, yeah, TNT's going to pick this up.
Oh, I thought you were going to just say...
No, there's not one
like
that coincides
the
with
most
this.
French name you could think of.
No.
Yeah. And then, after that, he starts taking down French members of the Brotherhood of Social Order.
The first part sounds real cool. Social order part. What?
You should
lost momentum
cut in
with it.
line.
They lost momentum with the naming there.
Yeah. They're an underground political organization that was spreading through Europe and
like
seeking to dominate the world like a cartoon villain.
All right.
They, as an organization, were like, I am like the Brain from Pinky and the Brain.
Oh.
So basically, though, he was doing all that, and he's legit, is all I'm trying to get across here.
Oh, yeah. A real bamf.
And, of course, I'm also trying to get across that he like, did all this. He broke up black magic cults, and that's not the weird thing.
Yeah. Like, that could be a standalone episode, but...
So, 1887, that's the time period we're at.
All right.
Robert Ledru is 35.
Okay.
the authorities of Le Havre, which is a city on the northern French coast, asked him to help them in solving a strange case about missing sailors that they were having a lot of trouble with. Because, like, he's like the guy. He's like the cleaner that you call in.
Yeah.
So he goes, he arrives in the Normandy port in the evening and goes to bed early. Gets up, heads to the police station, and he was told that the case about the missing sailors had become a low priority. So he, like, travels to...
They go through the trouble of calling in this expert.
Yeah, it's just like, yeah, but that what you came for doesn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
But it had become a low priority because there had been a murder that night at the beach of a prominent business, at the beach, and the murder was of a prominent businessman named Andre Monet. So he's coming for, I need to solve the mystery of the missing sailors. But turns out the night he goes there, a prominent businessman was killed, and he was discovered face down on the beach, and he had been shot dead. He wasn't robbed, and nothing. The police were looking. They were looking at it. Nothing was pointing to any reason, motive, suspect. Just a dead guy on a beach. The case was like confounding them.
Yeah.
And so Ledru's like, well, I guess I'll help you. I mean, I'm here. Fuck.
Yeah.
Goes to the beach to investigate the crime scene. Noticed some footprints leading up to and away from the corpse. Takes a closer look and kind of like looks confused, and he orders plaster casts of the clearest footprints.
These footprints in the sand?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying real hard. The story is there was only one set of footprints.
I'm trying real hard. I'm sure. I'm positive. I just peeked on the mic there, laughing at that.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. Sorry.
But when he was done, when the plaster casts were done, right?
Mm-hmm.
He sat on the beach and he was looking at the footprints for hours. He was like inspecting them.
Yeah.
And one of the local policemen said he was like a statue which was impervious to the hot sun and the incoming tide.
That's weird. That's okay. It's weird that he did that, but it's also weird that someone would describe anybody that way. Like, did this other officer like have a crush on him or something? He's just like, man, this guy, impervious to the hot sun and incoming tide. And you're like, all right, we're trying to get a statement about the murder. Can we stop talking about your crush on this dude for a second?
Yeah, the local policeman was like, I'm an aspiring writer, by the way.
Yeah. Check out my work. Sorry.
But Robert Ledru, he gets up. He, gathers the cops that are, already gathered in the area, but he gathers them up. And he says, there is no need to stay here any longer. The case is solved. I know the identity of the killer.
Oh. Well, that's all right. That's bold. Also, that's pretty ballsy to be like, shut it all down. Forensics, everybody get out of here. I solved it. We don't be like, but we have DNA. No, who needs it? I know it. I looked at these footprints.
We have to analyze it. No,
I looked at these footprints. We're not going to do due process.
I got a gut feeling.
Yeah.
Don't
do it.
Okay. So
did they listen to him, or were they like, we're still going to do our job? You can pursue this lead, but
I think they kind of like still did the job, but they
okay,
know,
good.
I think so, based on the rest of the story. He immediately goes back to his hotel, and he locks his door.
Mm-hmm.
It's not until the next morning that he went to see the police chief, who told him that the fatal bullet had been found and picked up at the beach. So they found the bullet that killed the guy.
Okay, so they did still work on it. Okay.
Yeah, that's why.
Good. That's good. Yeah.
And Ledru says, "Good. That is the final piece of evidence I need."
He was ready just to call it off.
yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, I needed this." And you're like, "What? You just all right?" This guy
this guy delusional? This more than anything. I'm glad that it apparated before me or whatever.
It confirms my suspicion. Yeah. All right.
But may I see it? And then he takes the bullet, and he takes out his own revolver, notices it's not fully loaded, and compares the bullet from the beach to one of the unfired bullets from his gun.
Does he want to look like a suspect, or?
He says, "Just as I thought. You need look no further for your killer. He is right here. I am the man who shot Monsieur Monet to death."
What the? All right.
He had no memory of shooting the victim.
What?
But had noticed one of the footprints had a missing big toe, and so did he. He noticed there was an empty chamber in his revolver, which he always kept fully loaded. He remembered that when he woke up the morning when he went to the police station initially,
mm-hmm.
he had noticed that his socks and his shoes were a little damp.
Mm-hmm.
He decided... What?
I mean, it makes sense why he wanted to, like, shut down the investigation. He's like, let's all call it quits. Like, we can't do that. Be like, I really wish you should. Like, really, really wish you could do that. I'm gonna just go away. What was his plan?
I think
he went back to his hotel. He wasn't gonna mention it.
No, he was.
He just waited for the next day. He wanted to get a good night's sleep.
Wrestling with it.
Okay, all right.
But he decided that most likely he was sleepwalking. And he walked to the beach, and he encountered and shot the victim.
What?
And the police were having a little trouble buying that.
Yeah.
Ledru's actual bosses, like from, I believe, Paris.
Mm-hmm.
He's in Le Havre right now.
Right.
They were thinking that maybe he's going through some kind of crisis caused by stress or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That led him to believe that he was the killer when, like, I don't know, maybe you just didn't keep your gun fully loaded.
Yeah.
type of thing.
Yeah.
But ballistics testing came back, and the bullet recovered was confirmed to have come from Ledru's revolver. And Robert Ledru was jailed and kept under constant watch,
mm-hmm.
which is what he wanted.
Oh, okay.
For his own good.
Kinky. All right.
Yeah, he wanted it. While in prison, he was given a revolver loaded with blanks.
Mm-hmm.
And one night, Ledru got up and fired it at a guard while he was asleep.
Whoa.
Which convinced the authorities that he was actually a homicidal sleepwalker.
What?
And from then until his death, 50 years later, he was kept on a secluded farm outside of Paris and watched closely by doctors and armed personnel. And is the story of Robert Ledru, the French detective that caught himself.
That's the best summary. Oh, all right. Okay. He that's all so weird. Okay.
Yeah.
I wish all right. Man, I have so many questions for him. I wonder what it was like realizing that it was him. Like looking at the footprints and I guess he's seen his gun, or maybe when he checked his weapon that morning, he realized it was that it had been fired, or there was a bullet missing. But yeah, just sitting there investigating this and then realizing it and not knowing how it could have happened. You're just like, wow, this was me, and not. That's gotta take a toll.
It's gotta take a toll, but it's also very admirable that he just basically came out immediately and was not immediately, because he was
he had to think about it. Yeah,
he was thinking about am I right? I imagine.
Yeah.
During the night that he went back to his hotel, but he was like, you know what, I am. Yeah.
I guess that's when he might have that could have been when he looked at his gun. It could have been when he, realized this. Well, you said his suction shoes were damp that morning, but wow. Yeah. That's crazy. And then I'm glad that it was straightened out. It sucks that it happened. Glad that he wasn't, I know he committed the crime, but he didn't consciously do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, was he what a horrible, I would not be able to sleep at night if hey, I might kill someone tonight. Who knows?
Yeah, and this is a thing. It's not very common, of course.
Yeah,
but people have killed other people while they were asleep.
Yeah.
I think it's real crazy. And, this is one of the less dramatic, well, not dramatic, but fucked up ones.
Yeah.
Because most of the time, who are you killing in your sleep? But your wife.
Your wife, yeah, whoever's right around you. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah. I know Mike Birbiglia, famous comedian, he's a sleepwalker. And he I think I don't remember the exact circumstances of what his he's done crazy things in his sleep, like not just oh, he got up, walked around the house, he's tried to get in his car and drive and stuff. And when he had a baby, he has to zip himself up into the bed sheet over the mattress, the fitted sheet, so that he can't get up and try to pick up the baby or something in this sleep in case he drops it or just does whatever.
Yeah. No. Also, wow. He I believe jumped out a second story window.
Oh yeah.
In his sleep, which is
in his.
I always think it's very odd when people can do very I don't know, physically demanding things in their sleep, beyond walking.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, it seems like you would be you get to the door, if you can't get the door open, you're just whatever. But also it's weird that your brain, because your brain, usually most people I would say pretty confidently, most people don't want to jump out of a second story window. I can understand if you're you might accidentally do something to your baby in your sleep because you're trying to pick it up or and your brain just body's not fully functional. But jumping out a window, what part of the unconscious mind has to be let's do it?
Well, there's the aspect of some people, it's they're reacting to their dreams.
True. That's true. Yeah.
But it's but how do you get... It's why didn't you just jump into a wall, though?
Right, it had to be the window, yeah. Well, I guess maybe it happens, but no one... It's not recorded unless it is a window. If somebody just jumps in their wall, they're all right.
Yeah.
It doesn't make the news.
Yeah, I'm just in my house.
Yeah.
I'm just a wall jumper.
Yeah, just a wall jumper. But I know, Freud, I think was it Edgar Allan Poe that coined the term imp of the perverse? And it's when you're looking over a balcony or something and you have that little tiny voice in your head that's jump. And you're oh, and you scare yourself. Like that's a phenomenon that happens. It's very usual. I think it was Edgar Allan Poe that coined it. It could have been it's him and Freud, but Freud did some stuff about it, so I don't know.
Yeah, but, no, I don't know who did it, but yeah, I've heard about that feeling.
Yeah,
possibly had it, not very often, but yeah.
Yeah, it says it was Poe. I want to get this factually correct. It was a short story by Poe. Okay, yeah. Whew, bizarre. Good story. That was a good one. That was crazy. Like like even like putting my brain in that scenario, it's wild.
Yeah, the thing, it's funny because it's like, to me, I was like, for a second, I was like, should I do this story? Because it's like, I don't know, it feels kind of like the story of like, you know, a procedural crime show that's jumping the shark, you know?
Right.
But, you know,
no, it was
like,
good.
If you saw this in a show or a movie, you'd be like, that's stupid. That doesn't happen. Like, that would never happen.
Right. But it did happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. All right. The year was 1904. And
13 years later.
13 years later from your story. Yeah, I was thinking about that when you were telling yours. Summer Olympics, right? That's a thing. The Olympics. Generally a mass gathering of the top athletes from around the world to compete in a multi-sport event against other countries. The games occur every 4 years, and they last about 16 days. The 1904 Summer Olympics was a little bit different. It was officially named the Games of the Third Olympiad. It was held in St. Louis, Missouri from August 29th to September 3rd, but it was actually part of a sporting event that began on July 1st and lasted until November 23rd. So this Olympics, it was about 5 months long.
Seems a little short.
Yeah. It should last the entire 4 years.
Do you know why it was called the thing of the Third Olympiad?
So all right, this was this is actually something. So I'll go ahead and say I have a little bit of this planned out, a little bit of the history of this, and have some of that for the collateral damage episode because there's a lot to unpack here.
No, never mind that.
But yeah,
continue.
Yeah. So that's something that I do. There's a lot of information. It's pretty entertaining. Yeah. So the Games of the Third Olympiad, 1904 Summer Olympics. It was momentous for a few reasons. In addition to being 5 months long, this was the introduction of the 3-medal format, where the third place won bronze, second place won silver, and first place won gold. Before this, winners received just various prizes, so there was no real consistency.
Really?
Yeah. It was also momentous in that it was the first time the Olympic Games took place somewhere outside of Europe. So that meant the competitors were mostly from the U.S. and Canada because not a lot of other people were able to make it.
Where did it take place?
St. Louis, Missouri, USA.
Cool.
There was a war going on between Japan and Russia from 1904 to 1905 called the Russo-Japanese War. And I want to clarify, this is not to be confused with the Soviet-Japanese War, which occurred like around the 1940s. So Russians and Japanese have been on rough terms for a while. But the Russo-Japanese War, Russia and Japan basically were arguing about who got to invade and control Manchuria and Korea.
And I get to invade it.
Yeah.
No.
It's my turn. Mom said I can invade next.
No, she didn't.
So imperialism at its finest. So the fact that was going on could have had something to do with the lack of international diversity. But regardless of the reason, out of the 651 competitors, only 62 were from outside of North America. Around 12 to 15 nations participated. So not a really good sample population of the world.
I mean, if you ask me, fucking yes, it is USA all the way.
You sound like Mr. America, Tim Heideckers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's the diversity thing is something also that I will address in the collateral damage episode. And so comparatively, this was actually pretty diverse. So we'll just give them what they've give credit where credit's due for the minimum effort. The games had some pretty cool things happen. One competitor was George Eiser. He's a German-American gymnast. In one day, he earned 6 medals, 3 gold, 2 silver, and a bronze. And one of the events for which he won gold was the vault. He successfully jumped over a long horse without the use of a springboard, which is incredible.
Wait, from like front to back?
Front to back.
Wow.
What makes this even more incredible is that when he was a kid, he was run over by a train and lost his leg, so he competed with one leg and a wooden prosthetic.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is impressive.
That's yeah.
Some like modern prosthetics have sort of like
some
the
spring,
sort of like bounce and spring.
Yeah.
A wooden prosthetic
Yep.
wouldn't. It would kind of be the opposite.
Yeah, and he did it. So pretty impressive. Another record-setting competitor was Frank X. Kugler, another German-American competitor. He won silver medal in heavyweight wrestling category, 2 bronze medals for weightlifting and dumbbell, like all-around dumbbell events, and another bronze in tug of war, which I was
real quick. Sorry,
yeah,
I need to go back to the horse guy for a moment.
Yeah.
Just want to emphasize that if there were people that failed at that, they would be going crotch first into the face of a horse.
Yes.
Just want to underline that as an idea.
Yeah.
And we could move on.
Yeah, maybe like they were trying to, like the horse was grazing and like one guy was unlucky and like the horse like stood up like what? Like they heard something and then just wham. Yeah, pretty unfortunate. Poor horse too, but maybe
would not be great.
I wonder if long horse, if that could just be the name of that thing, that they're like swinging their legs around. I don't know enough about gymnastics to make this call. Let me Google long horse real quick because I want to be factually correct. Wow, long horse. There are some terrifying things on Google Image about like skeletal horses haunting houses. All right, that is
skeletal horses haunting houses.
Long horse is a heroic internet urban legend creature created by Trevor Henderson. So yeah, all right. If you want to lose sleep tonight, just Google image long horse. I'm not looking at this anymore. Just so it could have been, I will concede that it could have been the little like gymnastics thing. They put their hands on it and they swing their legs around and have to like lift up their hands. That's not the best description.
Is that what that is called?
I don't know, but I think that's called a horse thing, right? Gymnastics.
I don't know.
Horse.
You just claimed that they were jumping over horses and it could have been a normal thing?
That was what was said. Oh, that's called the pommel horse. Okay, so I'm thinking this was really a horse.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
All right. I stick with this. I stick with that.
Was it a ghost horse?
Was not a ghost horse. I mean, maybe.
It is now.
It is now. I don't know what it was then, but it is definitely a ghost horse now. Yeah. So, yeah. But Frank Kugler got the bronze, did all the heavyweight stuff, dumbbell stuff, heavy lifting, some wrestling stuff, and then he won bronze in tug of war, which I think that's just a fun thing that they threw in the Olympic Games. I don't watch the Olympics. I don't know anything about sports, so I don't think that's still around, but
doubtful.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I know they do it on Survivor, and they like have like a little pit of mud to fall in. Anyways, things you do for immunity. But he was the only competitor ever to win a medal in 3 separate sports. Now it's okay. I need to qualify this. It's impressive that he even competed, but it's a little less impressive when you find out that he won because, well, he won, but he placed last in 9 out of the 10 dumbbell events, but there were only 3 competitors, so by default he still got bronze. So he either won the worst or lost the best, depending on how you think about the situation.
That's pretty funny that there are competitions at the Olympics that, like, they only, like, you would think at that point they would cancel the competition.
Right, or just be like, anybody from the stands want to come in? We need to fill up, we need some bodies in these beds over here. Pretty weird. But the main focus that I want to address today is the marathon. Woo! Marathon, pretty grueling event, 26 miles and some change. That's a lot to run. That's a long time to run. It's a pretty impressive feat of physical determination.
Yeah, their feet are impressive. We get
their
it.
Feet are...
on their feet. Yeah, okay.
In the 1904 Summer Olympics marathon, which occurred on August 30th, there were 32 competitors. 14 of those people actually finished the race. First of all, it was about 92 degrees that day. Combined with humidity, the heat index was about 135 degrees Fahrenheit. So a nice cozy run. The route went through, like, it started at the stadium and ended at the stadium, and it just went through country roads. Just dirt roads. Sometimes there was like some broken, like, stone roads, pretty hazardous.
If I were there going through those country roads, I'd be thinking, take me home.
Take me home.
Sorry.
We're canceling this podcast right now. This is the last episode right here.
I understand.
We're having some creative differences. No.
Yeah.
The organizer of the event, James Sullivan, decided to play mad scientist, which, if listeners of this show would know, that's a favorite trait of people that I discuss. I think it's, like, probably one of the best traits you can have. So he decided to withhold water because he wanted to take this time to test the effects of dehydration on runners.
That's pretty cool.
So now, we're gonna have people.
Cool guy.
We're gonna have people competing, like, people from around the world competing, and he's just like, yeah, let's just see if they do it without water. It's just 26 miles that they're gonna run. It's just a couple of hours. There were 2 places to access water. He didn't completely forbid it. It was just restricted to these 2 places. So 6 miles out, the athletes would pass a water tower, and they could get water there. And then 12 miles out, there was a roadside well they could use. So that's not even, like, the middle of the race. So you hydrate the first half of the race, and then you hope you make it the last half, which I am assuming is probably the most, like, grueling part. So that was going on. To make matters worse, officials, this whole thing is a mess. This whole event. Officials rode in vehicles ahead and behind the runners, so they can, like, monitor progress and, keep an eye on everybody. But they're on country roads, so they're just kicking up big dust clouds, and they're just the runners are sandwiched between it and just running through the dust and dirt that these cars are kicking up. And they're not allowed to have water. It got so bad that one racer, William Garcia from California, his esophagus was so coated with dirt and dust that it ruptured along with his stomach lining, and he collapsed and was hospitalized after hemorrhaging. If he had gone 1 more hour without medical attention, he would have bled to death.
Wow.
And they just they were like, yeah, we're going to keep it going. Like, no, throughout all of this, no matter how crazy it gets, never once is someone like, maybe we should cancel this. Like, but after this whole thing is over, they almost, like, canceled it for good. But okay, another runner, John Lorden, began vomiting and then just quit. He was like, all right, I've had enough. This is too much. This is stupid. I'm done. Which he might have been the smartest person. To qualify for this marathon at all, people had to win or place in the Boston Marathon or in previous Olympic marathons. However, there was an amateur athletic union that sponsored just random people that wanted to compete and train. And so there was, like, this one guy, I don't recall his name, he was, like, a bricklayer by day, and he trained for the marathon at night. So he, like, ran overnight and then would go to work the next day. Of course, 1904. I mean, even today, 2020, racism is alive and well. So 1904, still people wanted to people wanted to use foreign peoples as oddities. So in order to exploit people, the event organizers brought in these quote unquote oddities. I'm not calling them that. Was 10 Greek people who had never run a marathon before, and 2 men from a tribe in South Africa who were just happened to be in St. Louis at the time for the South African World's Fair exhibit. And they were just like recruited. They were like, "Hey, do you guys want to come over here and run this marathon?" And they were like, "All right." So they showed up with no shoes. One of the men, Lin Tao, which by the way, barefoot running, I'm all for that. You know, it's whatever.
Wait. What is that aside? Are you?
What? Oh,
is that
so I don't.
like your
Yeah,
life?
in life, I don't wear shoes most of life. So I'm all for this. You know.
Sure.
Definitely, I don't run in
on a
shoes.
plane. Do you wear shoes?
It's not required by law, but if other passengers complain, they can get you to put on shoes. Yeah. Which I don't think. I think it it really it's other people complaining that get you in trouble because there's no laws or health codes about it anywhere in the States. I mean, maybe like if you're an employee for a company, but if you're a patron somewhere, there's nothing. No.
All right. Feet wiki. Take note.
Yeah.
Mystic.
Yeah.
Mystic. Always having them out.
Yeah. Just think about my feet when you listen to this podcast. No, I do wear sandals like when I go in places just because it's not worth the hassle of having to like plead my case or whatever. So, you know, that's fine. I wear shoes.
Yeah.
But definitely exist most of life without them and run without them. So I wasn't too thrown off by this. But Lin Tao, one of these guys, was actually chased a mile off course by wild dogs during all this because the route, if you say it that way, was not secured. So runners were running these roads and dodging pedestrians, coaches, cars, wagons, trains, trolleys, and construction as they just ran through town.
It's correct using taxi.
They had like wait at crosswalks and like it was very, very chaotic.
Also, let me point out, because I'm surprised you didn't.
Yeah.
That it's racism at a race. It's racism squared. That's all.
That's good. That's a good one. That's a good
Thank you.
Racism joke.
Let's soberly discuss how
good
it is.
I mean, it's not like there's some like biological clue that I could give you that I thought it was funny, like laughing. I have to tell you that it's good.
You don't want to become a victim to an epidemic.
Yeah, you might never know when I'm just struck. Callbacks. Only loyal listeners get that joke. Another runner, Felix Carbajal. He was a mailman from Cuba. And he actually raised money to attend these games by running the entire length of Cuba. So that's how he raised his funds to get to the States. He landed in New Orleans. I'm not going to say the other pronunciation of that because there's only one way to pronounce it, and I said it. So he landed in New Orleans, where he lost all his money gambling, and he had to walk, run, and hitchhike the rest of the way to St. Louis in order to make it to the games. Because he had lost everything, he came to the starting line in dress clothes, long sleeve white shirt, dress pants, and dress shoes. I guess this makes it a little bit better, but another runner at the starting line felt bad for him and used a pair of scissors to help cut his pants into shorts so that he'd be a little bit cooler because it's like 135 feels like. Felix turned out to be quite a character. He ran in his dress clothes. He made pretty good time, and he would even like stop and chat with onlookers. Barely spoke English, but he would stop just to socialize. Pretty friendly dude. He stopped for a break beside a car one time and noticed that the passengers in the car were eating peaches, and he asked if he could have one, and they said no. Because you don't, when strangers like come up and you're like, can I have a bite of that? Like to your car, you know how that happens all the time? And it's completely normal. So I did actually, when I was reading this, I felt a little bit bad for him. I was like, the nerve of those people to turn him down. But then in hindsight, I'm like, yeah, I would have, what? Who does that? Who would just like, all right. Anyways.
I imagine it's like, he feels desperate, right?
Yeah, because he's not allowed to have
So,
water. So he's doing what he can. So they tell him no. So he just stole 2 peaches and ran off with them because, he's running, so just keep going.
Jeez.
Ate the peaches. Was feeling pretty good. Had a fresh burst of energy and hydration. He quickly passed an orchard, and he was like, man, I'm feeling this fruit. Let's stop in for some apples. So he ate some apples. They were rotten apples. He got real severe stomach cramps and lay down to take a nap instead of finishing the rest of the race.
Huh. Good call.
Yeah.
I would have just skipped to that part rather than do the race.
Yeah, exactly. It's a few other runners got cramps as well, just from running and not being able to hydrate, and they decided just to drop out. My favorite stories of this event are of 2 runners, and one is Fred Lorz, Lorz, and then Thomas Hicks. So we'll start with Fred Lorz. He was arguably the winner of the marathon. He began experiencing terrible cramps. He was with that bunch. So he just kept running, jumped onto one of the vehicles that the officials were using, rode it for 11 miles, jumped off, ran through the finish line, earning him a time of less than 3 hours for this marathon.
Really, they should always take that into consideration. It's just like, guys, we have cars now.
He was on the route. I see nothing wrong with this. People lost their mind when he went through the finish line. They were like, we cannot believe this physically impossible thing that you ran a marathon in 2.5 hours. That is unbelievably fast, almost impossible. And he's like, I know, right? Roosevelt.
Oh, so he was able to conceal it.
Yeah. He jumped off and ran through people. Yeah, so people just in the stadiums, they don't know what's going on. It's not broadcast. It's 1904. They're not watching they have drones flying over them, filming them. Roosevelt's daughter Alice had placed the wreath on his head and was about to put the medal on him when someone ran in and stopped the proceedings and told everyone what happened and that he should be disqualified. Everyone immediately began booing Fred Lorz, and he just laughed and said it was a joke. He had not intended to steal.
I was going to accept the medal.
Yeah, he's like, I wasn't going to stop you, but now that you're called it out, be like, yeah, wasn't this funny? So the second person across the finish line, who I think most people would argue is the real winner, who actually ran, was Thomas Hicks, and he was an American. Around 10 miles in, he wasn't feeling too hot, or rather he was feeling really hot because it was super hot and he was dehydrated, and he needed some assistance. He begged for water, but in mad experimental scientist fashion, it was forbidden. His 2-person support crew, he had a little team, so they sponged his mouth with warm distilled water. So that really hit the spot, I think. He probably could have run for days with some warm distilled water sponged at his mouth. I know that always perks me up when I'm overheating.
Feeding me sponged distilled water all the time.
No, he couldn't drink it. He couldn't ingest it. It just sponged around the outside of his mouth.
Oh.
Yeah. No, we're not getting crazy here. Really hit the spot. So he kept going with that. He had 7 miles left to the finish line. He began to grow weak. So his handlers decided to give him a little boost. They gave him a special little concoction. So 1904 Olympics, first time it was outside of Europe, first time using the 3-medal system that we have now. Also, the first recorded case of drug use in modern Olympics. Thomas Hicks' handlers fed him strychnine and egg whites. At the time, strychnine was used in small doses as a stimulant. There were no rules about performance-enhancing drugs, but nowadays we call that substance rat poison, because that's what it is. People put it out to poison small mammals and pests. And this dude was just like,
I need a boost.
He's like, I need to keep running this marathon. I got 7 miles to run. What better thing to ingest as something that will kill me? So he did that. He was choking on dust, not allowed to have water, popping rat poison. It felt like 135 degrees. And he heard about Lore's supposed victory and was disheartened. But when the news came back that Lore's was actually disqualified, Hicks once again had heart to run. He was given another dose of rat poison and egg whites, downed it with some brandy that one of his handlers had in a flask for him, took a quick soak in warm water, like he literally took a hot water bath, and got back in the run. Said he felt pretty rejuvenated. He had 1 mile left to go, and then he began hallucinating. His hallucination was that he actually had 20 more miles to go, and so he was feeling real bad. Real down in the dumps. He just wanted to lay down and take a nap, and his handlers were like, no, keep going, just keep going. So he did. He begged for food and water, was only given brandy and egg whites, so he was hallucinating on rat poison and drunk. He shuffled into the stadium.
My kind of night.
Yeah, I know. That sounds like an average day for Broomy.
Yeah.
He shuffles into the stadium. His team had to actually carry him across the line. They were holding him in the air, but he's in his drugged out state of exhaustion. He was like swinging his legs back and forth, thinking that he was still running, and crossed the finish line and was declared the winner. It took an hour for 4 doctors to clear him to even leave the event, and he had lost 8 pounds during the race. And that's the winner of the 1904 Summer Olympics marathon. The end of the craziness that ensued, that it was chaos. So we had people falling out, getting poisoned, taking naps, hitching rides and driving for 11 miles, being chased off by dogs, trying to wear dress clothes, eating rat poison to boost your I don't know. But to close on an even lower note, and a little bit of a funny tidbit, Lore's, the guy that cheated and tried to claim the victory, well, he actually beat Hicks the next year of the Boston Marathon. He won the marathon and Hicks lost to him. So
really? So, yeah, but
fair and square that time. Fair and square.
Who knows?
On his own 2 legs, as the article said. On his own 2 legs. Yeah.
I don't trust him.
I don't either. Pretty crazy event, and not regulated, not well officiated.
I mean, it was regulated in the fact that they did not give them water.
It was pretty restricted. It was restricted, and just like, run through traffic. We'll just see who makes it to the finish line. So now when I say 32 people entered, 14 people crossed the finish line, some of them were like hospitalized and like just dropped out. It was real rough.
Nice. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
It wasn't nice, but I'm saying
the story. It was a good story. It was, man, people are wild.
Yeah. So
shout out to James Sullivan for organizing all that and being super racist.
Yeah, shout out to all our racist fans for being horrible people.
Yeah.
Race racism, I'm kind of for, because of the,
just the puns.
Racism squared.
Yeah.
But not really.
On principle
not
against
really,
it, but for the puns, yeah, it's all right.
I'm in it for the puns, but I'm out for the racism.
Right. Right. Yeah.
But anyway, so that is Robert Ledru versus the 1904 Olympics.
Yeah, I don't know how to phrase that as a way that's weird. Maybe like,
I mean, that's a weird versus
deadliest marathon, or but I like just the Olympics, just putting him up against the whole Olympics. Like he tried to compete in the Olympics.
Oh, how about the 1904 Olympic marathon? It's a lengthy title, but we went meth man versus dead man. Let's go back to form specific. With some specific names and stuff.
Yeah.
So, go ahead and go to our Twitter, and which is @WhereTheWeirds.
Yep.
And we'll throw up a poll that is those 2 things. Which one do you think is weirder? Is what we're asking.
Mm-hmm.
Weirder story, weirder thing.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll reach. One of us will gain a victory. We're kind of we have been neck and neck.
Yeah.
So far,
Yeah.
but we'll see what the future holds. And also, by the way, before anybody corrects me, I think I said it was like 7 years or some. I said a wrong number of years from 1887 to 1904.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Whatever I said, it was wrong.
Whatever he said,
I'm dumb.
Whatever he said is now factually correct. Broomy can alter time and reality. So
yeah, I'm gonna just edit me.
Take out everything that happened in those years.
17.
Yeah.
All right. You're gonna hear that earlier, but
That's what happened. That's what happened. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
So we will
Wouldn't it be 18?
See you.
Wouldn't it be 18 years?
What? Oh. 1887 to 1904.
Oh, it's 87. I thought it was 86. Okay, never mind. You're right. I too am bad at math.
Yay.
All right.
All right. We will see you on the next one.